New tonight on KGW News, heated backlash after an ICE officer shoots and kills a woman in Minnesota.
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
With protests flaring up in Portland and around the country as federal officials defend their work.
We're just enforcing the laws that we have in this country.
Plus, Oregon's governor spent months pushing for a big package to fund transportation. So why does she want it overturned?
I don't care what's happened in the past. We are coming back together to figure this out.
Then call it the Fresh Tracks Flu.
Just stoked for a sick day. And
skiers and boarders flock to Mount Hood, where the fresh powder is piling up. And later,
man, this is just something that we dream of.
The Ducks living the dream and on the ground in Atlanta, with the stage now set for an epic Peach Bowl rematch. Good evening, everyone. We begin tonight with new fallout after a woman was shot and killed by an ICE agent. And while that happened in Minneapolis, groups gathered in Portland throughout this evening in solidarity with her family and against continued ICE crackdowns. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Mulco. Tonight we learned the woman killed was 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good. The Associated Press reporting she is originally from Colorado and described herself on social media as a poet, a wife, and a mom. Witnesses recorded part of the chain of events and its aftermath on video. A warning: you may find it difficult to watch. Sherelle Hubbard has the update.
A growing crowd of mourners flood the streets of Minneapolis to honor a 37-year-old woman fatally shot by federal agents. Earlier in the day, video captures the moments leading up to the deadly encounter. A woman in her vehicle, the dark-colored SUV, blocking the road. Federal agents drive up and approach the vehicle. One agent appears to pull on the woman's door handle, and she starts to drive away. An agent shot the woman before her vehicle crashed on the side of the road.
I saw the passenger exit the vehicle. They were crying and their face was covered in blood. The agents on the scene were shouting, "No pulse, no pulse."
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the woman attacked ICE officers with her car.
This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism.
Noem went on to say one of the officers involved in the shooting was previously dragged by a car in a separate incident in June. Minnesota's governor calling the killing senseless.
Do you have no decency? We have someone dead in their car for no reason whatsoever.
A community in mourning. The mayor of Minneapolis slamming DHS.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
All right, let's bring in Alma McCarty now, live outside the ICE facility in South Portland. Alma, you spoke with some of those gathered tonight in the Rose City to honor Renee Nicole Good. I just want to warn our viewers, we've heard some strong language behind you in the last few minutes as well. Our apologies for that in advance. What are people saying?
Yeah, David, I'm at the site of one of the vigils this evening. I'm going to step out of the way so you can get a kind of look on the ground at this point. It's a little bit different than things were earlier tonight. The people I spoke with really feel not only a sense of heartbreak and anger, but with many saying that despite all of that, they just weren't surprised to hear the news from Minnesota.
Someone lost their life today.
Expressions of outrage.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
And moments of silent reflection on the streets of Portland.
And it was just terrifying that we kind of been waiting for this to happen, and the fact that it did was just terrifying to see.
Vigils downtown and in front of the ICE facility in memory of Renee Nicole Good, the 37-year-old mother shot and killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis.
It was shocking to see it happen in that way, to see someone that was trying to help get caught up in that, and I can only imagine the terror. I've seen their violence in person, and so I understand why she didn't get out of her car and why she was afraid and trying to get out of there.
The federal government characterizing the interaction differently, with DHS saying the woman was attempting to hit agents with her vehicle.
I think that's absolutely disgusting. Renee Good was a mother. It sounded like she was artistic. She had a community. She was out there just following ICE and making sure that immigrants are protected. So Kristi Noem is clearly trying to, spin the story, make it seem as though it was justified. But anyone who watched that video can see that that clearly was not justified.
As Minnesota leaders called for the removal of ICE from their community, Portlanders echoed those demands here, saying ICE and other federal agents have acted recklessly.
Just breaking the rules more and more, just trying to push the boundaries.
It's why some neighbors have been monitoring ICE activity. Outside the ICE building, Pastor Heather Hellman from Multnomah Presbyterian Church told us she spends her mornings here with legal observers, helping people understand their rights and paying close attention to the actions of agents.
These are people that are trying to be peacemakers. These are people that are trying to follow the commandments of Jesus, right, that I follow, that say, love your neighbor, help the immigrants.
Representative Andrea Salinas from Oregon's 6th Congressional District called this shooting a preventable tragedy and wrote, "This is not the first of such shootings, and without accountability, it will not be the last." David, back to you.
Alma McCarty on what appears to be a very peaceful South waterfront this evening. Thanks, Alma. Okay, let's talk about our weather impact alert now, which continues in the Cascades. A live look now at Highway 26 covered in white at Government Camp. Chief Meteorologist Matt Spinos here. Matt, it sounds like we are not done yet.
No, we got about another 24 hours of snowfall left in the Cascades. You can see our sky cam up at Timberline showing the falling snow continuing. Temperature still parked at a nice cold 20 degrees. Humidity, not a problem. Winds have backed off a bit, and now we're up to 23 inches of new snow at Timberline Lodge. Mount Hood Meadows, 20 inches now. Ski Bowl, 13 inches. Mount Baxter, I'm saying 8 inches plus. At last report, it was 8 inches, but that was earlier today. I'm sure they picked up several more inches since then. And Mount Rainier is now approaching 3 feet for this storm system since yesterday at 32 inches. Now, on Doppler radar, we had a little bit of a back off of the snow earlier. That's to be expected, but now the showers are increasing again as they move up into the Cascades, and there's still more showers coming in from the west. Notice a little bit of snow at the very, very top of the coast range here. We may get some snowflakes down to about 15 feet, but nothing sticking below about 2,000 feet. And here's Mount Hood close up with Doppler radar. You can see snow all over the mountain and over on the west side too, down to those low elevations. And by low, I mean about 2,000 feet. So again, Government Camp, temperature there is 27, completely snow-covered roads, 23 degrees at Sandy Pass, very snowy there. And same story down at Willamette Pass, the highest of those 3 passes. So heavy snow will continue in the Cascades tonight and tomorrow. We'll get another, say, 8 to 18 inches by the time it's completely done. Snow occasionally down to about 1,500 feet. But again, no threat for the valley floor or the West Hills, and really even the Coast Range and the Cascade foothills. We may get a few snowflakes, but sticking snow confined to elevations of above about 2,000 feet. Then, David, we got to talk about the big dry spell that's on the way.
Oh, a lot to talk about. Thanks, Matt.
Just stoked for a sick day, and everybody needs to come on out here.
Well, that was the vibe on the slopes today as the fresh powder continued to fall. The skier telling us he camped out at Government Camp last night so he would be first up for fresh tracks. Who could blame him? New tonight in Salem, the community came out to both oppose and support a convicted murderer appointed to a police review board. A little bit of background here. Kyle Hedquist was granted clemency by former Oregon Governor Kate Brown. He was convicted of murder in '94 when he was 18. Law enforcement says he shot his victim in the back of the head to keep her from telling police about some burglaries he'd committed. At tonight's special meeting, city councilors and the public were sharply divided on whether Hedquist should be allowed to serve on the Community Police Review Board. You'll hear some opposition and then from Hedquist himself.
Mr. Hedquist is a convicted murderer. While his life sentence was commuted, the life he stole was not. You cannot commute a victim back to existence. Yet some of this council saw fit to grant a man barred from volunteering at a school or even sitting in a police cruiser unless it's in the back the authority to oversee law enforcement.
The death of Nikki Thrasher is the gravity that pulls at everything I do. I ended her life, and I am forced to live with the agonizing math of that reality. I can never give enough, serve enough, or do enough to equal the life that I took. That debt is unpayable. But it is that same debt that drives me back into the community.
In the end, council voted to remove Hedquist from the review board and to adopt new criminal history background check guidelines for future appointments. In an update, Oregon's governor is now doing a massive 180 and asking lawmakers to repeal a major transportation funding package. It's after some of it, including a gas tax hike, was paused when critics got enough signatures to put it to voters this November. Catherine Cook's in the newsroom with the details. Catherine?
David, the governor has her eye on next month's session when she wants lawmakers to redirect existing transportation funding to cover core operations. The goal? Avoiding layoffs planned for the spring, which could jeopardize severe weather response. It'll force ODOT to look at all of its transportation programs to reallocate funding, something Republicans argue should have been done from the start.
In an about-face, Governor Tina Kotek asked lawmakers to repeal the state's stopgap transportation funding package Wednesday, a package she fought to pass just 3 months ago during September's special session.
Well, look, we have a different situation. We still have a transportation crisis, and my job is to make sure we can get back to the table, solve the problem.
The transportation package was expected to raise about $4.3 billion over 10 years. It featured a 6-cent increase to the state's 40 cents per gallon gas tax, plus hikes to title and registration fees. Republicans panned the bill and launched a referendum, gathering enough signatures to put many of the fee increases to voters in November. Kotek's call to repeal her transportation package would remove that opportunity, angering Republicans like State Rep Shelley Bosshart Davis.
You know, there's 250,000 Oregonians that signed up to say we want to be able to vote on this, and so we kind of had an idea that shenanigans were going to happen, that there would be some sort of funny games going on.
As it stands, revenue provisions from the funding package are frozen because of the referendum. But ODOT's projected $300 million budget gap, that's still a problem.
And what I've been told is those dollars have to come out of ODOT's budget somehow. We're going to figure it out. These are hard conversations. There's nothing easy about this, but if we all work together, we'll figure it out.
Meanwhile, Republicans are doubling down on their argument that ODOT has enough existing funds to cover core costs without a massive transportation package.
But really, truly, ODOT is too big and too much to everyone, and we need to focus on maintenance and preservation as #1 goal, and that's not currently happening.
Kotek says she plans to convene a bipartisan group of lawmakers and stakeholders to develop a transportation package for the 2027 legislative session. David.
Thanks, Catherine. Catherine Cook there. Developing tonight, speaking of getting around, officials in Washington County have one specific highway repair concern. They declared a state of emergency for Highway 6 following a landslide and sunken roadway. The Board of Commissioners is urging the governor and state lawmakers to get federal emergency money for long-term repairs. They're also pushing for Highway 6 to get more priority for state and federal funding. It's going to be alternating traffic on this stretch near Glenwood for the foreseeable future.